Yeah,
There's
and
like some
I'm
stuff.
wondering if there's some type of technology or some type of collaboration of two noises that you think are just like a perfect match, or something that you hear that you're just like, wow, that's really interesting, or like a really addicting combination of two things collaborating together with sound. That's for both of you guys, actually, if there's.
I think they do a lot of, I mean, I'm fascinated with it. People are more in tune with it now too, with this whole ASMR stuff. But I think that they do a lot with audio triggers now. Like the one I've noticed is on the Nintendo Switch. There's this click when you put the controller into it. Sounds like a snap. But they use that in their marketing material. So anytime you see something with the Switch, the first thing you see is this little like click, and it's like it's a very unique snap. And I'm positive they're using that as like a reinforcement
Yeah,
through your ears, basically,
yeah,
to give you a little dopamine hit every time you hear it,
yeah.
which is funny.
That is funny. You know, actually, we're developing this app, and we were thinking about incorporating a sound as well. And so I started getting into kind of the metaphorical sounds that you could use to create a stronger kind of association or metaphor. And actually, the one that I tried that we selected, we didn't use any sounds, but was the swish from basketball. I've noticed that when you watch an NBA game, there's mics now, like at the net. So when you hear it, it's so, like if you play basketball, that sound is so addicting, right? Because it's like so many triggers. One, it's a perfect shot, but then just the sound of it is so beautiful. But if you're listening to a game, you just hear this magnified swish sound. That's just, it's so enjoyable, actually, in a weird kind of ASMR way. Are you familiar with ASMR, by the way, Michael?
No, I don't know what that is.
Okay, so this is like if we explain, you'll probably understand. But this is I was actually just watching. There's a Korean woman who has one where she's just eating food, and she's got the microphone like from her ear, and the microphone's very close to her mouth, so you could hear her neck, and you could hear the food going through and the chewing. And people are watching this YouTube video to listen to intense sounds, almost like Foley sounds, right? Of somebody eating. And so she's eating all this Korean food, and you're hearing all the chewing, and that's what ASMR is. It's like this intensified Foley sound, like from movies and stuff like that.
Some people get this really relaxed feeling when they listen to it, or even like chills like when you're listening to music. A lot of people have the opposite, misphonia, where they hate the sound. That's like my wife. She doesn't like any of that stuff. I'm in the middle, and my business partner really enjoys those videos. He's always watching them, and he relaxes them, I guess. Like he's like a brain massage, he says. So it's funny.
I don't really think too much specifically about that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm sure there are sounds I hear that relax me, but the science of it, I don't. Don't pay much attention to.
Makes sense.
The one thing I am really impressed with, because I'm a sports fan, is like when you watch like baseball games now, and there's nobody there, and how they made the audience sounds, so where there's like a constant kind of dull roar of the crowd, and then who's ever doing it, they must have samples to where they play the big applause when something happens for the home team, and the sound guys are working hard, and the guy whoever is the sound designer for Major League Baseball games should get a doggone Emmy for sound, because they're doing a lot of hard work to make a baseball game not feel like you're in an empty stadium.
Yeah, that's cool. So you're a fan of it then. I mean, I imagine without anything, it would be super dull, right? They would need to figure out something else.
One of the reasons why I didn't want to do this at night last night is because there's a World Series game. There was a World Series game on that went until at least 9, and there is tomorrow night too. So this is a good day for this.
That's good.
You're a Dodger fan, I assume.
Yeah, I am.
So when you listen to the music of others, would you consider your process similar to an anthropologist, taking note of unique practices? Like, is there one recently that you've taken note of that you find innovative, or something that you're interested in incorporating in a future album or song? So like when you listen to others, are you kind of are you constantly just building this library of like, that's really cool that you end up maybe going back to and using later? And are there any that you would like to use?
Um, sorry, I've tried to. Okay, tell me the name. Don't.
Billie Eilish?
No. Yeah. Yeah. Billie Eilish. Sorry, her name isn't sticking with me. But um, like the way that they did her record, and if you like, first of all, I find music that I really like, and then like especially because I'm vote for the Grammys, I listen closely to it and all the other nominees.
Yeah.
And hers was the one where I went, I really started to listen closely to their production methods, and I think they struck a good happy medium between using like contemporary vocal techniques and use like a simple tracks to highlight her voice, which is really soft and tender. So like if she's not up enough in the mix, then the song loses its impact. So they struck a happy medium in like production value versus featuring the artist. So it's kind of its mix, but it's kind of production, but it's mostly her. But I really like her record because it was a good balance of, because I know it was recorded mostly, like she was done mostly at her house, and probably her brother has a studio in his house, and so I don't know how they went back and forth, but he'd probably make a track and send it to her, and then she'd sing on it, I would guess. But I just imagine how that collaborative process went, and I really enjoy how it sounds, but I know it was done in their houses,
Mhm.
and so not being a part of the process, I'm just curious about how they did it exactly. But I like that because I like that a record I like so much, got so many Grammys.
Yeah.
In film production, production value would be getting the most out of kind of your resources by spending the least amount of money. That would be production value, right? Like rather than shooting a war scene in Vietnam, you're doing it in Van Nuys, right?
Right.
Or wood in Van Nuys or something, right? What would production value be for audio production?
Well, that you can make a record inexpensively and maybe not like not take forever, but you work efficient with time, and like I do, I go to musicians' houses. I mean, I still pay them well, but I mean, like let's just say that you you work with a couple of producers, like one who plays guitar, one who plays keyboards, and then a singer, and you guys all work together, and you work efficiently and cost effectively, and come up with a great product. So it didn't cost $1 million, but the result sounds like $1 million.
Yeah.
It cost 100,000, but it sounds like $1 million. Like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Time and money. Makes sense.
When we're talking about, this is out of left field. I'm just curious. This is just a thought that I had when listening to him. I've actually listened to Avicii a lot too. And are you familiar at all with Avicii?
I know the name, but I couldn't like.
All right.
Rest in peace, right? Didn't he pass away?
That's right. Yeah, like last year or like 2 years ago or something. He's we can go into that another time. So Lynn Massy, did I get that right? Sylvia Massy.
Sylvia Massy.
I did research on her, but she's not as kind of controversial as the other guys, and in her interviews and things like that. But definitely prolific as a producer and sound producer. Actually, did the Tool album, which is amazing.
I'm fascinated that she can have this studio up in Weed, California, and get people out there. That must have been off of.
Well, the way I met her was like I read a Mix magazine article, in like the early 2000s that she had the studio complex in Weed, California, which is kind of the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And so I sent her an email and said, hey, I'd like to see your place. He said, well, sure. And so because it's about a 12-hour drive from my house to her studio, I just drove up there. And I, spent the night in Weed, and then she gave me a tour of the studios. And it's an awesome place. I mean, it's since been disbanded, but at that time, Weed only had there was only a few thousand people in that town, and so she had like the big movie theater was like a big old-fashioned movie theater that probably seated 1,000 people, and so that was her main tracking room.
Wow.
And the band would set up on the stage.
Oh my gosh.
And she had like an old Neve 8000 series console in the back of the
what? That's amazing.
Like no control room glass, but so she would work on headphones when they're playing, but could make the speakers loud enough to get drum sounds. So she had, that was her main room, and with a great old Neve. And then upstairs in what was the theater's balcony, she had an SSL 9000, SSL 9000 mixed room.
Wow.
And then downstairs in the building next to the theater had like an overdub room. And then down the street in another house, she had another recording room. And so there was these 4 studios. And so I went up there and I went, I got to work here. And so I said, Sylvia, can I work here? She said, okay.
It reminds me of, it's kind of like those old yogis or Zen masters who'd be on top of a mountain. And if you make it all the way up there to see them, then you're kind of stuck pretty far out. So you end up joining the monastery. Yeah. It's kind of like that.
And so we worked out an arrangement, and like, because I've got a studio here, like she came down and got my gear and brought it up there. And I set up a separate studio so I could do overdubs and mix there, but then work with her on projects.
Yeah.
And so I did that for about 6 months in 2008, I think it was. And so for 6 months, I just did whatever projects that she brought in, and we did them together while she was doing like 2 of the other projects with different people at the same time. And so, like I did the day-to-day stuff, but she's the one who developed the artist ahead of time and helped them work out the songs, and then brought me in when they kind of had it worked out. And then I would make the record. But then if we got stuck, I would call her and say, Sylvia, man, this vocal sound is not really working. She'd come in and take 20 minutes and go, okay, just do this. And it was great. Or like we get stuck, we need a part for the song. And so she'd bring in a little like a keyboard that she had, and would play a sound, and we'd go, all right, that's what we needed. And it was really fun to get a song as good as I could get it, and then have like a fresh set of ears to go, well, it really needs this.
Yeah.
And so to see something I knew every detail about, for somebody like Sylvia to come in and like critique it and take it up a notch was really fun.
What a cool collaboration. That's just, talk about the amount of talent in that room. It's pretty cool.
That was fun.
So winding this down, one of my questions, I'd like to talk a little bit about your international travel and working with different cultures. Starting off, I'm wondering, have you guys been to the Music Museum in Scottsdale, Arizona, by any chance?
Oh no, I've heard about it, but I haven't got to go yet.
Spectacular! You have to go. It's awesome. It's awesome, and it's like every setup has there's like little exhibits. You're walking around with headphones, clearly, so you don't interrupt other people. But every exhibit is from another country, and they show like the music from each of those countries.
Oh, that sounds so cool.
It's amazing. It's amazing. That kind of dovetails into, you get a rush out of working internationally with international artists. And what do you think it is about that experience that gives you so much energy and excitement to be part of?
Well, the thing about it is that, because every culture, like be it Turkey or Thailand or Spain, or there's certain things that are fundamental about their culture that are totally different from ours, and that kind of translates into how they make records, and so when I get invited to go there, then I do recordings a certain way, and to them it's like they've never quite done it like that, and generally they go, oh my gosh, that works so cool, but then I need to adapt a little bit because of their culture, and so it's really fun to bring like, okay, here's my recording method, and then have to adapt it a little bit to how they work, and it's like there's a certain, I don't know, I could do that. I got to find some, new continents to go to. Like I've never been in Australia or Africa, or I've been going to Asian countries lately. I've been to Thailand a bunch of times recently, and I really like the spirit of Thai people. And there's some great studios there. Like when I first went to Bangkok about 3 years ago, I heard about a studio, and I walked into it, and I went, oh my gosh, I know who made this studio. And it was a friend of mine built it.
Wow.
And his name is Jay Kaufman. And when I worked at Oceanway a long time ago, Jay was the studio manager. And so I know Jay's work. And I said, I know who, and so I was immediately comfortable there. And then I met some different Thai musicians and producers and artists, and we hit it off and started doing stuff. And so I've had that experience in a few different countries and totally different cultures. And it's always different, and it's always been fun.
Yeah, that sounds great. I love traveling and seeing. I mean, doing a normal thing in a different location can be an entirely new experience.
So it like makes something. It makes the process fresh again. Mm-hmm. And like like I've been in like one country I was in. They hired me to do all the tracking for their project, and I don't know how many songs it was. Maybe it was 5 songs, and we had like 3 days of it. And so, I got there early and got the drum set up, and the drummer came in, and we got that going, and everybody got playing, and so at the end of the first day, we had all the songs done, and they went, wait a minute, they're all done. I said, yeah, but we have 2 more days booked.
That's nice.
Let's do something else then. But I mean, they just weren't used to, like, because I'm fast, and
that's so cool.
Because the other fast, and they kind of were all like dumbfounded, like, wait, we're finished.
You know.